Published 1641 Eastern Standard Time, the 30th of January 2018. Updated 1701 Eastern Standard Time, the 30th of January 2018. Dogfight extraordinaire, as Roy Hodgson charmingly billed the bottom half of the Premier League on the eve of this London derby is set to continue for both West Ham and Crystal Palace. Each team has aspects about them to admire and each team is fatally flawed, out of kilter and could do with improvement before the transfer market closes for business. Perhaps it was appropriate that for the second time this season they could not be prized apart. Christian Benteke rises highest above the defence to power home a header and put Crystal Palace 1-0 up against West Ham. Adrian was unable to get anywhere near the ball as Belgian striker Benteke gets there ahead of James Collins to score. Benteke puts his fingers in his ears after silencing his doubters with his first Crystal Palace goal since mid-December. West Ham were afforded the chance to level things up when James Tomkin's trailing leg caught Javier Hernandez in the box. Mark Noble stepped up to score his 50th West Ham goal from the penalty spot to level the match shortly before half-time. Noble wheels away in celebration with a bloodied and bruised Kekau Kouyaté sporting a bandage around his head. Christian Benteke struck first, heading Palace into the lead midway through the first half before David Moyes' side fought back and levelled with a penalty from Mark Noble. João Mario dazzled for the home team to suggest he might prove to be an inspired acquisition in the loan market. While, up front, Javier Hernandez looked a little more like his old self. Hodgson's team took an age to hit their stride and then proved capable of creating good chances. Wilfried Zaha threatened in the first half but was not at his best and faded. By the end it was a contest begging to be put out of its misery. Both teams are vulnerable, low on confidence and increasingly short of fully fit players with new casualties at every turn. João Mario, surrounded by bubbles at the London Stadium, walks on the pitch ahead of his first taste of football for West Ham. Crystal Palace captain Luka Milivojevic picked up a yellow card within 6 minutes after a poor tackle on Sam Byram. Despite a sold-out message being projected around the ground, there were some empty seats among the home supporters. Palace lost Bakary Sakho to injury in the first half when he limped off after a firm but fair midfield challenge from Pablo Zabaleta. West Ham's Kekau Kouyaté played the majority of the game with his head bandaged after an early collision with Luka Milivojevic until replaced 4 minutes from time. All of which only served to emphasize the stupidity of Arthur Masuaku, who started his 6-game ban for spitting. Moyes patched up his team with extra fullbacks, a youthful bench and handed a Premier League debut to Mario, signed on loan from Inter Milan for the rest of the season and delightfully fluent in possession. The first chance of the game fell at the feet of the Portugal international when Hernandez nodded a deep cross from Kouyaté into his path. Hernandez looked destined to open the scoring for West Ham, but ex-Hammer Tomkin's last-ditch tackle saved Palace's skin. Adrian tries to stretch a hand down to save Benteke's header, but the ball finds the back of the net to give Palace the lead. Collins was the man jumping with Benteke, but he could not rise as high as the Belgian to stop him firing the ball goalward. Andros Townsend, who crossed the ball for the goal, and Bakary Sakho celebrate with Benteke after he netted his goal. Mario tried to sweep it past goalkeeper Wayne Hennessy on the half-volley but miscued and dragged his shot wide. It was a positive start for the home team without creative sparks such as Manuel Lanzini and Marco Arnautovic. Andre Ayew was absent, too, officially injured but also understood to be close to completing a return to Swansea, possibly with midfielder Ki Sung-young moving in the opposite direction. Another routine cross swung in from the right sparked chaos in the Crystal Palace goalmouth when James McArthur and Timothy Fosu-Mensah turned their backs and left it for each other. The upshot was almost unwitting assist for Hernandez, but James Tomkins, back at his former club, reacted quickly to clear the danger. West Ham captain Noble strikes the ball from the penalty spot, sending Palace goalkeeper Wayne Hennessy the wrong way with bubbles blowing around him. Noble celebrates his 50th West Ham goal in front of the adoring home supporters. Midfielder Kouyaté needed medical attention for a head injury, and he was given a bandage to stop the flow of blood midway through the first half, and Palace had offered barely a murmur of attacking intent when they took the lead, winning a goal kick from Adrian in the air and slicing easily through the West Ham defence. Milivojevic supplied Andros Townsend, who beat Declan Rice on the outside with a change of pace and clipped an inviting ball into the centre for Benteke to devour. The Belgium striker worked himself into space and climbed across the front of James Collins to bury a header past Adrian from close range. It was only a second goal of the season for Benteke, and Palace will be twice the side if they can coax him into form. Sarko, who was awful for half an hour, required 2 spells of treatment after the Zabaleta tackle before he hobbled off down the tunnel and was replaced by Johan Cabai. João Mario made his debut for the Hammers after arriving on loan, and he played a pivotal part in his side's first half equaliser. Hernandez heads the ball past Timothy Fosu-Mensah and towards the Crystal Palace goal, but Hennessy is equal to it. Palace may have to add Sarko to the list of injured players. The winger was replaced by Johan Cabai shortly before half-time. Disruption hurt Palace, who, having belatedly found some rhythm, conceded a penalty within seconds of the restart. Mario's close control enabled him to burrow into the penalty area and slide a pass to Hernandez, who seized a clumsy lunge by Tompkins, feigned to shoot, waited for contact and tumbled. Referee Neil Swarbrick pointed to the spot and Noble converted. The visitors responded with a flurry of chances before half-time. Adrian saved from Townsend, MacArthur headed wide and Milivojevic caught one sweetly from 25 yards only for it to soar over. West Ham survived until half-time, took control of the second half and ought to have moved ahead when Hennessy saved from Hernandez. Bandages on his head and right wrist did not stop West Ham midfielder Kouyaté getting right into the thick of the action. Palace midfield pairing James MacArthur and Milivojevic combined to stop Aaron Cresswell getting past them and to the ball. David Moyes, who alongside assistant Stuart Pearce has rejuvenated West Ham, barks his instructions from the technical area again. The influential Mario started the move, releasing Sam Byram, who picked out the Mexican striker from the right. It was a fine save with strong hands from close range, but the header by Hernandez really ought to have beaten the Palace goalkeeper. Hodgson retreated into his seat, unable to give them a jolt with limited attacking options on the bench. Moyes, too, clearly felt unable to change the flow of the game with his selection of young subs. The derby fizzled to a miserable end, the closing stages getting worse as a spectacle, rather than better. Tompkins, a legend at West Ham following 19 years of service at the club, tries to clear the ball under pressure from Kouyaté. Fosu-Mensah agonizes after sending a cross high and wide over the crossbars with his teammates waiting in the 18-yard box. Townsend grits his teeth during a London derby that fizzled out in the latter stages, seeing both teams go home with a point.